We got the recording on. Hey man, you outside today?
I am in Mobile, Alabama, road tripping my way to a Joshua retreat.
Wow, that's really cool. You being outside, Alabama. Huh?
I found this perfect little spot in this big strip mall with this beautiful backdrop. So this worked awesome.
That is so cool. Look what you're manifesting.
Heck yes.
It's beautiful there. What is the
Perfect
Joshua?
weather for
Talk to me about the Joshua thing you're doing.
Gary Temple Bodley channels an entity called Joshua, which from my perspective is very Abraham-esque. And with a slight twinge, he's very focused on using manifestation events in your current day-to-day reality to unearth or observe and recognize the perspectives and beliefs you're holding on to, and then in the moment kind of looking at them head on and deconstructing or reverse engineering what your belief system is through the reality that you're living every day. So I'm super excited. He's doing a week-long retreat in Orlando starting later this week, and it's the first one I'm going to go to of his. I know a few people, and I am very excited.
Very cool. Yeah, I love it. So it's in Orlando, huh?
Yeah, I always fly everywhere. And Joshua is actually big on impulses or excited impulses, same as Bashar and Abraham to some extent.
Yeah.
And a couple days ago, I just got this excited impulse to road trip instead of flying like I always do. And I've really been enjoying the ride. Being alone and on the road gives me an opportunity to really continually like observe my own thoughts. And I've been unearthing out of alignment beliefs on my own in this solitude like crazy and meeting tons of nice people, seeing beautiful new places, and just realizing how small, friendly, and beautiful the country is. Like in just a couple of days, you can go across it. And there's so many beautiful places to stay, amazing food everywhere, these great outdoor parks to be at.
Love it.
So yeah, I see how the impulse is serving me in deconstructing or reverse engineering my reality. How about you? How's everything with you?
Really good. It's just so funny you're talking about this because I was at the gym today working out, and this guy came in and he was talking to me, and
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, I know you haven't seen me in a while. He goes, guess where I've been? I go, well, where have you been, man? Like, he goes, "Yeah, I just got in my car and I drove across the country, and I was just stopping at like I went out west because he's never been out west, and he visited like all these cool like state parks, Yosemite, all these ones. He's telling me like all these stories. He just got in his car,
Yeah.
like you said, he had like an impulse, an intuition that he was just going to go out there and like an adventure. And he's like, you got to do it. Like, and now, and then the funny thing, now you come on here and you start talking about it. I'm like, okay, maybe I should just get in my car and start driving and see what comes up.
You you have a momentum in your field about road tripping. It
Yeah.
feels so freeing. I realize how little I need. I have some clothes, I have some water, but everything is so easily accessible. I needed to like print some document out. I can go to any FedEx office and print and scan it back in. I need food. There's just endless amounts of food. I got a Planet Fitness membership. There's almost 3,000 Planet Fitnesses across the US. There's always a
Yeah.
gym and a shower. Like just it's cool to see everything you need is really easily accessible and at a very reasonable price from my perspective. So I would encourage you to heed the calling
Heed
if
the
it's
calling
calling
of
to
the
you to just hit the
intuition, the
road.
effortless being. That is so
Yes.
cool. Yeah, I know it just keeps
Yeah.
coming up. It sounds great. Planet Fitness, that's where I was today too. It's funny, Planet Fitness coming up. But because it's
I
true, they're
I love
everywhere.
it.
They're everywhere. You can go in there,
Yeah.
take a shower, do whatever.
It's so cheap too. I think it's $25 a month for the
Yeah.
universal membership to all of
Yeah.
them. And they're all beautiful and clean. They have friendly people, tons of equipment. And I've been hitting them up every day as I travel across the country, thinking, how is this possible for $25? Shout out to Planet Fitness. This is free
Yeah, right.
advertising for
A
them.
great
But they
value.
are that good. It
Yeah,
is that good,
right.
great value.
Oh, that's so cool. So what is
You
it
even have
that
your
you
purple shirt on.
so some people might be watching, be like, this guy just gets up, he takes all these trips, he's doing all these things, he's just free, he can get up and go. Like, how is he making money? Like, how does he support it? Is he just like trusting the universe to manifest what he wants? Like, what does he do? Does he have like some like he's on some computer and it's like he's just doing some online business? Is he just he just inherit all this money, or just does he need money to do freedom? What is he doing? What would you say?
It's it's mostly investment based. So I've been playing around with stocks and a few other type of investment opportunities, really having a lot of fun with it. There's all sorts of perspectives on markets and investments, but for me, it's really just been a fun and an appreciation. I see so many good ideas out there, and so many people excited and passionate about inventions or new ways of doing things that are really life changing and world changing from my perspective. And I love being able to get myself in on that energy and that excitement and that expansion by really researching a lot of these companies and then investing in them. To some extent, it seems almost like a no brainer to me, like some of the artificial intelligence, quantum computing, driverless cars. Like, yeah, there's some bumps in the road. Some of these self driving cars have hit stuff. Sure. Like, as any new technologies evolved, you're going to refine it, right? Like Edison,
Yeah.
or I think it was Edison who invented the light bulb, was like, well, I figured out 1,000 ways that a light bulb isn't going to work, but then he figured out some way it is. So I like see what the obvious trend and momentum is towards, and it's ease, it's minimization, it's simplicity, but it's high functionality and high value of return. And I kind of steer myself towards those, generate a lot of excitement, and yeah, that's that's where I'm at right now in terms of that. So far in this now every day, I'm doing well enough that I can continue on, just continuing on and seeing where this leads. But I know emotions, as Abraham always says, are a manifestation. And we know from science, you think a fearful thought, your body does a dump of cortisol and you have measurable chemicals seconds later floating around your body. Same thing with joy, oxytocin and all these chemicals literally get released, and seconds later, the manifestation is not only emotional, but it's physically measurable. So in that context, I know it's floating out into my reality too. So I trust 100% that I'm the creator of my own reality, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, you're actually living it, which is great. And this ties into actually what I wanted to talk to you about on we had emailed on our last conversation we had, which was, by the way, fantastic. I was very uplifted. I've gotten a lot of responses from people. A lot of people benefited from that interview that we had. So thank you for doing that. And one of the things that came back, and I know we were exchanging the email, I was just reading it over. The one that both of us resonated with was the art of choosing the best feeling. You were saying how we could
Yes.
make a whole book just out of that one idea, just talking about that. The art of choosing the best feeling. What does that mean to you?
I love that phrase. I could just like breathe in that phrase. I don't know if you originated it, it's definitely a book title because it's really a play. It's an art, the game of internally considering what you're thinking about and how it feels and playing with it to continually refine it to find the best feeling thought. I actually just got off the phone with my aunt. Shout out to Aunt Janie.
Shout out.
It's so cool. When I was younger, I didn't. She's always been such a beautiful, loving aunt, but I'd always be like, ah, we don't relate on that many points. It's funny to see how as I shift myself, people come from the most unexpected perspectives or unexpected places, and now we're really sharing this journey into our own consciousness together. And it's so much fun to have friends and family members who I never would have expected to be playing the same game I am to suddenly be playing the same game. But what we were really discussing and really seems so appropriate here is to bring in, well, Abraham, Bashar, everyone in recognizing what emotions are. Recognizing emotions are literally like a speedometer on your car. They're just a gauge, they're just an indicator telling you, and they're different for everyone, but for each personal person, what how aligned their perspective is in that moment with the truth of who they are. And realizing when I feel that emotional trigger, like, ouch, that hurts emotionally, recognizing, wait, it's not this person, it's not this circumstance, it's not this object that's doing it. It's my perspective about this circumstance, this person, this object, and my emotions are beautifully showing me I have an opportunity if I want to now to change my perspective and artfully play with new perspectives in the moment to see how good of a feeling I can get back, how high or broad or accurate, whatever you want to call it, how true of a perspective for me that I can find in the moment to get the best feeling back. And then I like to conceptualize my reality as like a building structure, take out the beam that feels bad and put in the new beam that's stronger because it feels better. And all day, every day, just swapping out beams for bigger, stronger, more true perspectives on things, and kind of seeing this game as going on forever. But I really see it as a playing a dance. And I'd love to hear your perspective on it as well.
Yeah, when I think of the art of feeling, I just reminds me like how Abraham talks about like the emotional scale and how what we're feeling. So any thoughts we're having, we can put them on the backdrop of how we're feeling. So if we're having a thought that's making us feel excited, kind of like what you're describing, your excitement is because of the thoughts that you're having. You're seeing the infinite possibilities. You're squeezing the juice out of life. Like you're taking an orange and you're just squeezing it like orange juice, like fresh juice, and you're just taking it all in and you have the, like this aliveness that you're going after because you have this vision. Like what you're doing is you're taking any of these thoughts you're having, and it's almost like you said, it's like a GPS system, it's a guidance system that's guiding you throughout life. So you can test anything against any thoughts that you're having. And it's almost like we can tune into, and we talked about it on our last call, how our thoughts are like invitations, how consciousness is here, and that we are the infinite being, we are the infinite consciousness. And then these thoughts come up, and they're coming up in this space of infinite being or this space of infinite consciousness. And then we're either taking whatever ones we want and we're personalizing them. And then when we're personalizing these thoughts and we're dwelling on them, and you know how things manifest when you have the thought and you believe it and you continue to dwell on it, it builds momentum. And next thing you know, other thoughts like it come along. Like you say, after 17 seconds, another one, it builds momentum, and it's what's manifesting in your reality. So you can really use like whatever thoughts you're having based on your feelings, because infinite consciousness, I'm sure you heard about the different bodies that infinite consciousness peers through. We always remain, like a lot of textbooks will teach it the other way. They'll say, oh, you're a human being, and then you kind of go out from there. But the way it really works is you're the infinite being. You're the unified, infinite being, pure consciousness, right? You're just pure consciousness. And then you can peer, that infinite being can peer into the next body, which is the body of bliss. So when you're aware that you exist, okay, that's bliss. Like you feel like those waves of bliss coming over you. And this is all still like unity consciousness. And then from there, when you go into the next body, then you go into the body of effortless being, which is where everything is just arising effortlessly and equally in this infinite space, this permanent space of consciousness that you are. So all the thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your body sensations are all coming up equally and effortlessly. So we're still in unity consciousness. We're experiencing everything as unity as one. And then what infinite consciousness can do is it could peer into the mental realm, which is where the thoughts are. The thoughts are coming. Now you're identified with these thoughts. And now you're being dualistic because now you're saying, oh, I'm this separate person, this separate me, Rob. So consciousness can now have that experience of limitation and have that particular experience, whatever it is, as a human being. And then you can get into the emotional body, which we're talking about now, which is your feelings. And that is still in a dualistic way. You're dealing with it because now you're dealing with being a separate person who has these feelings. And so now you can have those life experiences, and then those emotions can tell you what thoughts you're having. And so they kind of work hand in hand. And as you were saying, you could test those thoughts to see what emotions you want. So you can really play with it. It's like you said, it's like a movie, it's like a play. And so, like, if you wanted to be, bliss, if you wanted to experience that, euphoria, infinite joy, all those things, then you can, as infinite being, peer into, those particular thoughts that bring about those emotions. So you can play with it and test and see what it is for you and your experience, and your intuition will show you that. And then finally, of course, the last body that infinite consciousness can go into is the food body, the physical body. It uses the physical body peering through it to move around and have life experiences in this dualistic world. So that we have all of these different bodies, these 5 different bodies, what they talk about, that we can go into, that I've tested myself and seen and played with it to see, how we can have different life experiences that we can have. So for people out there that want, to have these cool experiences. They want to feel the bliss. They want to feel the joy. And it's like Abraham talks about, and talks about like following your bliss, following your joy. When you have that, you kind of get like this peace like comes over you, this joy, this empowerment, this, it's like a stillness. It's just this stillness, this space of beingness where everything is coming and going. You're always remaining as this. You can just get quiet and just look at the silence and feel the silence and be the silence and be the stillness and feel it all coming and going.
Rob, I loved that moment of silence. It had so much power in it, and it displays a new perspective that feels so good with me. And that is, I can convey more in silent focus than I can with words and explanation. And I could feel it in that moment because you're embodying it and offering it as a perspective, as a vibration that I was able to match essentially, and then feel the peace and bliss of that. And I love that. And in this perspective too of bringing it full circle to this road trip, seeing how less is more, paradoxically, when you can, Bashar has this quote, when you can do more with less, you can do less and get more. It's kind of like that E equals MC squared. You can put the energy in and then reverse it back out. Like the formula is a mirror, as above, so below. Like you can play with it both ways. So much of what you were saying resonates so deeply. Um, I love Bashar's perspective that we are only consciousness. And although we have the perceptual experience that the soul inhabits the body, what's actually occurring from a broader perspective of physics is that the body appears and inhabits within the soul. It's
Yes.
actually inverted. And that recognition, like we were talking about last time, I love this perspective inverted triangle. You go really broad down to really specific. If you go really broad and you become the perspective of all that is, there's no experience to be had other than I'm aware that I'm aware, but
Yes.
there's nothing beyond that. So to have some experiential reality or some experience of something other than being aware I'm aware, you need to limit yourself essentially in some way. And this is the power and beauty of limitations. Limitations are a phenomenal thing because they enable experience. So I loved your perspective of these five bodies. You can then start to limit yourself down into limitation being a great thing to get all those different experiences and know yourself better, appreciate yourself, love, experience, find all the joy in all those different things. And that's a really cool explanation and perspective. Like seeing all truths is true now. I recognize everything is true. All I'm
Yes.
hungry for is good feeling perspectives. And those the perspective of these five different bodies you go in, it feels really good. I'm going to scoop that off a buffet and put it on my plate. So thank you.
Stupid. I love it. And the other thing too, I noticed like with the bodies that I was talking about is the unity consciousness, and we talk about how it feels. Like that one feels the most delicious to me when we're in that body of unity, feeling like that oneness. And when you reside as the infinite being, and we talked about we're the allness of everything, and we're aware that we're aware, we're conscious that we're aware, and that's like that unity consciousness. And so is like being aware of bliss, and then just the awareness of effortless being or being the effortless being in those bodies that we're peering through and having those life experiences. You're really experiencing the unity consciousness, which is where the true peace is, like the deep peace, the deep joy, the deep fulfillment, the feeling of feeling complete and joyful, and like this is it, like this. And so like every moment is like perfect. Like every moment's like the Garden of Eden.
Feel it, Rob. I love that. I choose that perspective too. Or I'd say realize that perspective. We're in heaven right now. The reason people who are looking for it can't find it is because They don't realize they're in it right now. And since you can experience any perspective you choose, if you choose the perspective, I'm looking for something that's not here, heaven must be there then, it can't be here now. No problem. Reality is a mirror. Reality will give you experiences which prove to you heaven is there then. It's not here now, but only because, like, the funny paradox is because you're in heaven here now, and because it's giving you every perspective back as an experiential reality, when you say it's there then, it becomes there then. And that the unity consciousness, just recognizing, coming down a little more. Again, you're staying pretty broad, but coming down just enough to have the experience. Oh my God, like, we're all one, we're all doing the best we can, we're all evolving together. Everything is absolutely perfect right now, can give you the emotional experience of it. And I love hanging out there. It's so much fun to play at all these different levels and choose at will to go down to different levels, from eating the meal up to this unity consciousness. And then I play now with maintaining multiple perspectives simultaneously. Bashar talks about oversouls, or, like, again, perspectives that are broader. They're experiencing several lifetimes simultaneously, or parts of you are. I mean, basically everything's occurring here and now. Bashar's second law, everything is here and now. It's just existing at different vibrational levels. So I got really curious and I was like, there's perspectives where I'm experiencing multiple perspectives simultaneously. So I play this game sometimes of bringing in a broad perspective, looking through into a narrower one, but maintaining consciousness at both points simultaneously, and eating this meal as unity consciousness instead of just as this individuated self. It can become really fun and interesting. And I can hold, to some degree, two perspectives simultaneously. And then it makes me wonder, well, there must be a way to hold three or four or 10 perspectives simultaneously. And where does it end? And the truth, we realize, for expansion to be occurring, it would mean it goes on forever. You can experience 10 and then 100 and then a billion. And then, I mean, there's no end to it in the sense of a joyful expansion. There's no end. And that's what we want. No end. As soon as there's an end, there's no expansion, and you're just aware that you're aware.
Yeah, so what I mean, what it is you're the infinite being and you're having a human experience. So as the infinite being, there are infinite possibilities. You can be experiencing several different things. Like if you really believe that you are the infinite being, the pristine infinite being, you can have anything you want. You can experience everything you want. And from that broad perspective of the infinite being, we're all remaining as that infinite being. But it's just that infinite consciousness, like you said, wants to have these other experiences. And so limitation can be good in a way so that you can have those other experiences. My favorite experience in the dualistic world, like if I'm not residing as the pristine infinite being and, holding that or just being that, just kind of just happens naturally, or effortless being, or in the body of bliss, when I go into the dualistic world, whether it's the emotional body or I'm peering into the mental body, the one that I love the most is like personal love. I love how that feels in the dualistic world. Whereas when I'm resting as the infinite being, there's the love, but there's like this broader unity love, which I love. But then I also like to experience the personal love. And the only way for me to do that, I go from like unity consciousness to oneness, and then I peer into the world of duality and become a separate person in my mind or in my thoughts, this separate me, which can have a relationship with another separate me. And you have that personal love that you have between the two me's, I should say. You can have that love, but I'm still remaining as the pristine, infinite being the whole time. But yet I can still enjoy that particular reality. But I just love how infinite intelligence works with infinite love or personal love in the personal dualistic realm. But at the same time, I'm residing as the pristine infinite being, which is all peace, all loving, all everything, everything in no particular thing, but I am everything. But at the same time, I can peer into these different bodies and have these different experiences going on, as you say, simultaneously, because everything that I'm experiencing is happening in the eternal now. Any memory I'm having, when's it happening? It's happening right here in the eternal now. Everything, there is only the eternal now, and everything is happening simultaneously there. And I could take my infinite consciousness and peer into these different bodies and have these different types of life experiences feels very empowering to know that and to live that and to have those kind of experiences. It feels delicious to know that.
I think that's what's happening right now, Rob. I love you, man. I like feel the feeling the vibe. We're peering in. You're staring at the man in the mirror, and
Yes, it's like a reflection.
that's it. And it yeah, it is magnificent, and it is fun, and it becomes so obvious. Abraham always says well-being is so dominant on this planet. And when you peer into that individuated self who's having relationships with other people, or even I'm recognizing I have relationships with objects or experiences every time I fly, because I love to fly, I find it so much fun. But when I think and peer into the experience of having a relationship with a plane, but from the broader perspective of all that is, I think, I don't know if I can curse. I want to curse.
Hey, good, go for it.
I think, fuck, think about an airplane. Think about how many parts are operating flawlessly on an airplane at any given second. I don't know the number, but there's got to be hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of parts on an airplane. All these little wires, all these little tubes, gas, fuse breakers, switches, glass, plastic, so many parts for hours. They're all functioning perfectly to keep me alive at 30,000 feet, and not just alive, but comfortable in perfect climate. And if I'm flying first class with my feet up, eating a hot steak off a refrigerated fork, sipping off of whiskey that came from Japan, like
Mm.
the well being is literally insane if you stop and think about it in every moment, right? You might be like, oh, my flight was delayed an hour. Well, yeah, so there's one check in the negative box, and now these 10 trillion checks in the positive box. And I can always step back and, just like you're saying, zoom in on the perspective of an individuated self in the relationship with a person who has a billion magnificent characteristics, an object like a plane, billion, a circumstance like where I am right now in nature, all these
Yeah,
trees, the
love it.
weather, the temperature, like everything is always so perfect. And if where awareness goes, energy goes, as Dr. Joe's always saying, like you amplify, your focus amplifies and then gets proven more back to you. So all truths are true. I guess you could, in theory, you could choose to focus on all the negatives, and everything could eventually go to a post-apocalyptic world. But the game I think we're all enjoying, because we're using our emotional guidance system now, is like the opposite direction, where the better it gets, the better it gets, the better it gets, to quote Abraham. Like we just keep seeing more and more and more amazing well-being, dominance of it everywhere, and then it keeps amplifying. And what a fun game it is to play.
Yeah, I love playing the game. It's like you say, there's no no's in the universe. Because if you say, no, I don't want that, the universe isn't going to like say the no. It's whatever you're dwelling on, whatever you're giving your attention to, whatever belief that you're giving, that's what's going to manifest. So why not, if we know this, why not? Anyone that's listening, why wouldn't you just focus on what feels good? Use this as a way to orchestrate your life or to set up your everyday life as one that is beautiful to you, one that feels magnificent, one that feels joyful, because you have the power to do that. You can set up your everyday life in that way. You can have a perspective where that happens, that no matter what's happening in the manifestation, you feel the joy, you feel that it is paradise on earth by your perspective and knowing what your true nature is, in knowing what you truly are. And it seems like it always circles back to that when I talk to those who know what they truly are, that they're not identified with being, a separate me or a separate limited person, that's this fragile human being where you have to water it, you got to feed it, you got to do all these things to it. And all these limitations that they see, these limiting beliefs, and they tend to have these realities, that are limited, and then they have these perceptions of suffering and they kind of dwell in these lower end emotion on the emotional scale, whereas those things don't have to be that way. You can dwell on the higher emotions. You can have a perspective and understanding and a knowing, and your intuition already knows that. That's why we feel bad sometimes. We have those lower emotions. It's just kind of waking us up to know, hey, your true nature is you're supposed to be happy. Life is supposed to be fun. You're supposed to be enjoying life. You're supposed to be there. So it's waking you up to say, well, check your thoughts, check your perspective. What perspective are you having on life? Which one of those bodies is the infinite being peering into. You can peer into the other bodies where there's true joy, where there's true peace, where there's bliss. And your everyday life can be scrumptious, it can be delicious, it can be satisfying, beyond satisfying. It could be like paradise on earth every day, every moment. It's just that the mind comes in and wants to label it all these different things and these stories. You don't have to believe those thoughts. They're just innocent thoughts floating by. And when you tune into a vibration, because it's a vibrational frequency universe, when you tune in to the frequency, or like we say, the channel, you can change the channel to the higher channels of feeling love, feeling joy, feeling appreciation. You could just feel appreciation just to be alive, feeling appreciation to know what you are. And you feel that and you get on that channel, then those are the things that start to build. And so those life experiences build, and then you're having those kind of experiences in your life. So it's just very empowering to know that people in their everyday life can experience a beautiful life, a heaven on earth life, a paradise earth, so to speak, right here, right now. Anyone, no matter what's going on, can experience that. They have the power to do that because everyone right now is remaining as the pristine, infinite being with infinite possibilities.
Love that. Momentum seems to be a key game element at this perspective we're at now, right? We have new information, we have new facts, we understand reality is not as it appears to be. I'm not this separate, fragile self in a hostile world. We've got enough information now to have a broader perspective. For me now, the game is really momentum. You recognize the law of attraction, like you were saying before. You have a thought, stay on it for 17 seconds, you get another thought like it. And after 68 seconds, you got some momentum. Like Abraham always says, a car rolling down a hill in neutral in San Francisco on a big hill. At some point, it starts moving so fast with so much momentum that you're not going to just dead stop it and be like, no, I want to think a new thought. So the game really is for me playing with momentum and getting it rolling downhill for a hill that I want to go down, a direction I want to go to, a location I want to go to, and then recognizing sometimes I was not aware enough and I got some momentum going in a non preferred direction. Paradoxically, appreciating in that moment, objectively, broadening out as much as I can, saying, ah, oh, look what happened. I was, lost for a little while there. I got some momentum going, and that's okay. And in a strange way, appreciating how momentum works. I like to think of a tennis match or maybe a game that's played with another person. You could maybe get momentum going and get angry at your competitor, be like, they're always beating me or whatever. But if you step back, you realize there can be no tennis game without some sort of person to play the game with.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, a relationship before, there's always 2 points or more points that have some degree of relationship for them to allow an experience to come back. And recognizing momentum is something I have a relationship with too, and appreciating what it is and appreciating it works for me. It's like a tool, like a hammer. I can use the claw end of the hammer to try and hammer in a nail, and it's going to get all bent and messed up and not go in right. Or I can use the front end and drive it in straight, and realizing it's a double edged sword. It's a double sided tool that I'm using, and sometimes unintentionally, not an awareness, I'll use it in a way it's not designed to, and it'll give me that feedback. And then appreciating kind of the fun of that and being like, this is the game, like this is the tennis match here of always becoming the master of awareness in ensuring I'm always using my hammer in the preferred direction. And when I slip up and I'm not, immediately forgiving myself, laughing it off, and actually appreciating that's right, this is the whole game. The fact that I can use a hammer in a way I don't prefer is what enables me to use it in a way I do prefer. And yeah, and milking that momentum every minute that I can in every way I can. And this conversation between you and so many other Abrahamsters and Dr. Joe people, Bashar people, it just gives me an opportunity to practice using the hammer the way I like it, building momentum. Like I can feel our conversations every time we talk. And I know, yeah, I'm keyed in. My emotional guidance system is telling me I am right on target in the pipeline, going the direction I prefer to go, and appreciating you for that.
I love momentum. I love how you keep talking about the momentum. And like you're saying, even a relationship, even like you and I talking, the momentum that we can build just with each other, going back and forth and talking about consciousness, talking about bliss, talking about joy, talking about feeling really good and tuning into feeling good. We can build momentum on that and create this reality of paradise. We can create this reality of unity, this reality of feeling good. And so like that momentum just keeps building. It's everything's like energy, and this energy is building on it. And anyone can tune into having a relationship with someone when you're taking that down and you're having to build momentum with someone. I mean, you can start off small, when you first start and get to know someone, you listen to them, you might go on a few dates, you learn about them, and you might give them flowers the one time. Next time you might take them out to dinner, and then you start sharing like intimate things about yourselves with that person. Now you're forming an emotional attachment, and you're just building on that, and you're building on that. And so you get that momentum going. So momentum's beautiful. You can use it in relationships, you can use it in life, you can use it in interviews like we're doing here on Zoom calls. You can build that momentum and have this environment of joy and of bliss and of the feeling of completeness and this feeling of infinite possibilities. Like when I'm talking to you, I feel a lot of infinite possibilities that there are. Like this, life's an adventure. It's like a movie, and we can choose which scenes that we want to play out on this screen of consciousness that we are. We're like this screen of consciousness, and it's like just playing out like a movie. But when I tune in with you, it's like we're gonna have like this fun. We're gonna have like this adventure. Like what's next? Like what is truly possible? You talk about putting the backpack on in California and flying all around. You love flying. Resonates like flying, taking on the new things, the new adventures, the cutting edge stuff, the possibilities. That's what excites people, is the infinite possibilities that are out there, and infinite consciousness. When you're the infinite being, there are infinite possibilities. Why not have that in your reality in the dualistic world? Why not bring that to life and enjoy that part of life that's there for everyone? Everyone has that infinite possibility because we're all infinite consciousness. We can live and we can take that momentum and build on it and expand, open, and just stop being in this little tunnel world with these thoughts that we have, and just open up, and that frees it up, and that, wow, look at all of this. Simultaneously, all these realities that I can peer into. Life becomes exciting. It becomes like a really cool game that I can play.
I love you weaving possibility in and see the power of joyful momentum, or rather, the result of joyful momentum that I observe is new possibilities, the realization and recognition of new possibilities. In fear and lack and limitation, what you can conceptualize as possible in any moment shrinks. And now that I play this game of building momentum and joy, all of the sudden things become so obvious that previously seemed were either non-existent or seemed like risky or hazy. Like investments are one good example of this. I was always like previously very scared of stocks and investing. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's a gamble. You are guaranteed to lose your money, this and that."
But
The
meanwhile,
more
they're
I
on
just
FanDuel betting the Super Bowl. Let me put $100 on the Chiefs to win. Oh wait, they lost. There's lost money. It's a gamble.
they're seeing possibility in their joy, I guess, in sports. But I started looking at different strategies for stock investing, and a couple times I've gotten like intuitive hits looking at certain options by being just all of a sudden realizing, whoa, it's so obvious that based on this pattern, this is going to happen. Like it's obvious, and I don't know how I'm seeing it, but in the play, in the joy, in the excitement and momentum, things just become glaringly obvious. And I'm recognizing now that's where genius inventions come from. Playing in joy and imagination and possibility gives these intuitive hits from broader consciousness of how to do things or how to create things in ways that haven't been conceptualized before. 100 years ago, if someone told you, hey, you could be able to communicate with anyone at any moment, anywhere on the planet effortlessly, everyone would say, no way, like, no way, that's impossible. But today, right, we created this technology, this cell phone that someone in a state from my perspective, they must have been in a state of playful curiosity, joy, excitement for long enough to get and focus to get that hit. Hey, maybe there is actually a way that we could talk to people, right? And then first the telegraph is the first idea of it. I mean, I don't actually know the actual history, but it just logically, right? There was a telegraph. There's, oh, we could send little beeps, like that could work. And then someone like, wait, instead of sending beeps through the line, what if we could somehow send a voice through the line? And then all of a sudden someone's like, wait, what if we don't actually need a physical line anymore? There must be a way. And you see how these possibilities keep building on one another. Dr. Joe has this great phrase: you bring possibilities to life with your awareness of them. If where awareness goes, energy flows. As soon as you get that hit from a joyful state, wait, would it be possible to do something in this way? And you continue to focus on it in playful curiosity and joy, the response comes from the greater consciousness. Like the limitation almost gets removed or tweaked in a new playful way to open up. And how cool would it be to get to be the realizer or recognizer of those new possibilities and then experience it as this character in this reality, thanks to the broader consciousness that you're able to inhabit.
Yeah, that reminds me of I had a coaching call with a guy. He had he was on my YouTube channel, and he contacted me, and he's like, "Hey, I want to talk to you, about self-realization and awakening, all that." So he called me up, and we had a coaching call, and he was telling me that he made a lot of money doing cryptocurrency. I'm sure you probably heard of that, crypto. And he was telling me like how he built his business and made his millions that he had made, and how he got financial freedom. And he said, Rob, what I did was, he goes, I would just like look at the investments, and whatever like unfolded like effortlessly, like he felt like he was tuning into higher consciousness, and he was just following whatever felt like easy or effortless, that just kind of just flowed. But if he said if it came in where there was like he felt himself like efforting or felt constrained in some way when he was doing it, then he would back off and be like, this isn't it. And then he would wait to feel, when he would look at something else that felt more like expansive and more effortless. And then he would just tune into that emotions. He felt like consciousness was telling him to go that way, and then he would follow that. And then it would just, everything with synchronicities would happen. Everything would just flow when he just like got his personal self out of the way, and he just allowed infinite consciousness just to flow through him. And then he would navigate his investments, that way. And there was success that he had just by tuning into infinite consciousness and letting the effortlessness be his guide rather than effort. So he was like saying how when it felt effortless, things would flow. When he put forth the effort, that's when he felt constrained, and when things wouldn't work out as successful. I just thought that was pretty cool that he shared that with me.
That is really cool. Michael Singer, who wrote The Untethered Soul and a couple other books, I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yes.
I'm paraphrasing some quote of his, but he says something like, reality knows where it's going, or your life knows where it's going. Instead of insisting you know where it's going, step back for a minute, look at it, and feel where it's going. And I was getting that same vibe from your client's story about that, of kind of observing the feeling you're getting and riding that feeling and going with it. Ooh, this feels good and easy, almost like it knows where it's going.
Yeah.
I know where I'm going. Reality knows where it's going. We're all just joyfully going down the stream in that way, rather than stopping and being like, wait, we've always done it this way. We need to do it this way. It feels awful, but
Yeah.
that's how money gets made.
All this
And just
efforting and
going with
striving.
it. Yeah. Yeah, knows where it's going. I know where I'm going. It's effortless, effortless. That's a great example. And I actually experience the same thing with stocks now. Some of them I look at, and the name will catch. Big Bear, BBAI, was one a couple months ago. It caught my eye. I have a
Yeah.
friend, and we're always making these bear jokes, some inside joke with bears, and it caught my eye. And I was like, Big Bear, that seems interesting. I was like, that feels good. And I started researching it, and lo and behold, it went from, I don't know, $3 a couple months ago. It was over $8 just the other day.
That's
And I was
great.
like, look at that. Like, something just caught my eye. It seemed interesting. It felt great. I love the technology and the focus of the company expanding using AI. Put some money in, and look at that, like more than doubled in just
Yeah.
a
Got
couple
that little
months. Like,
intuitive nudge that came along. It reminds me of my book.
yeah,
The book that I wrote, I think I told you about. I'm here. I feel good, and I hope you do too. And it
yes.
reminds me of here is chapter 13. This is and the my one of my, some of my client stuff, like I wrote about like stuff like that, how it became effortless for them and things like worked out. The title of this chapter 13 is Just Ask and Go Get a Coffee. The simplicity of asking.
That's awesome. I'm definitely going to read this book. And I got to say, it's a baller quoting yourself or citing yourself. You know, you've made it as your human character. Like,
Yeah.
if you can write an essay or write a research paper and cite yourself, you're like, yes. And I love that. I draw from that and I scoop that on my buffet. Thank
Yeah,
you.
put that on your buffet too. Here's
Oh,
something I wanted to
yes.
ask you. So we're out on the Abraham cruise, which are going to be going up here at the end of March. I'm excited about that. I love it. It's just where I like refuel on those cruises. It's just the energy is just top notch. It's just so we're out at the Abraham cruise, you and I. We're sitting in the auditorium, and let's just play. Let's just play. So Abraham calls you up. Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, you put your hand up. You get an intuitive nudge. You just felt like putting your hand up, and you wanted to ask something. So you get up on the stage with Abraham. What are you going to ask?
Oh, snap. Hmm. I'm excited to key in more on what I'm asking for. I got really curious, like this vein I was going with Joshua, recognizing manifestation events are showing me limitations within myself. And I'm curious, I'm unclear within myself if the game I'm playing is actually to remove all limitations. Another way of saying it, how I decide what my highest desire actually is. I think I desire more money, and I do because it's easy and awesome. I think I desire more loving relationships because I do, and it's amazing. But what I'm realizing is what I actually am desiring to do is remove limiting beliefs, or as another way of saying it, finding more empowering perspectives. I like, I want a Christ consciousness more than anything else. I want to look at anything, any person, no matter how ill they proclaim themselves to be, no circumstance, no matter how terrible everyone's labeling it. And I want to be able to see it for the perfection it is and see the possibility within it, and then shift to the reality where that better feeling possibility is real. The paradox I'm recognizing, though, is sometimes what I think I prefer and I'm calling forth, like, say, more money. If I were to have gotten more money really fast, I would not have wound up in the situation where I uncovered the limiting belief and found the more empowering belief. And I'm realizing by thinking I want some of these very like 3D things, I'm actually stopping myself, or they would be prohibiting me from finding the belief and choosing the more empowering perspective. So I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I'm seeing preferences for very tangible experiences and things may actually be limiting what I'm actually here for, and that is Christ consciousness.
Yeah, when you say Christ consciousness, talk to me about that. When you say Christ consciousness, what are you meaning by that?
Always being able to choose the best feeling thought and always being able to see the perfection in everyone, everything, every circumstance. I love Abraham's sharing of that, where she often says, you could stand in front of Jesus dripping your illness and saying, I'm ill, I'm
Yes.
ill. And he was so sure you were whole, you were healthy, you were perfect just as you are, that your illness literally could not exist within his presence.
Yes.
And for that moment, that person was perfect. As they moved away and started to doubt or question or talk to others about what happened, it would cause them to doubt and then slip back into a different vibration where they then were experiencing that illness. But that idea of always being able to see the perfection in everyone and everything to such an extent that that person or circumstance has to then change to match, to be the perspective that I know it is whole and perfect because we're in heaven right now. That is what I'm really hungry for. And some of these lower, what I think are desires, and they're fine. They would actually stop me if I were to get them. They would stop me from being able to find it. And it makes me think a little bit about Abraham's story or Esther's story, where she always says, if 20 years ago, when she first started meditating and started receiving Abraham, if Abraham had said, you're going to be on stage in front of people, she would have said, nope, hell
Right.
no, I don't want to do that. I have no interest. So there's this element that what you think you want may not be what you actually want. The emotion and embracing the emotion is always going to put you on the path squarely. But the idea of thoughts about specific circumstances or specific experiences might actually be hindering the most unimaginable blissful reality.
Yeah, I remember that. I listened to that one on YouTube where she said Jesus would look at you dripping in your sickness. He wouldn't see it that way. Jesus always saw it, and even the gospel accounts, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. When you read about Jesus there, Jesus talked. He would always see everyone in their perfection. Christ consciousness is just seeing things that how Jesus would see it or how Jesus would experience it, and that really goes to knowing what you truly are, knowing your true nature. On what you are, discovering your true nature as the infinite being. And I just feel like when I'm talking to you, like you know that already. Like you know that you're the infinite being, that you're whole and you're complete, and that everything that you see is perfection. Everything's happening just the way that it should. It's only and perfectly, by the way. But the only thing that's really telling you different is this commentator, this voice in your head, or these stream of thoughts that are telling you that it's not, that something's missing, something's lacking, that this isn't good enough, that you have to have the more money, in order to be happy, that you have to have these external things, the perfect relationship, the perfect health. You have to have these things in order to be happy. It's like this voice saying it. But it's almost like when you know your true nature that, well, I'm the infinite being, this open space of beingness where I have everything already. I'm timeless. I'm the eternal now. I'm the beginning. I'm the end. I have it. I am it. I am everything. But I'm no thing. When you know that for yourself, when you realize your true nature, it's almost like any fulfillment or anything I want is all I have to do is take my attention and just draw it like back into this, to drop to my heart, to go from here and then just.
Rob, you are so good at that. I can like feel it. You're doing it. It's a gift. You hold the vibration within yourself so with such decisiveness, so much sureness that I can just match it. And I can just scoop off the buffet and feel it. People talk about that with mostly in Eastern philosophies. You just stand in the presence of a guru or some of these Eastern realized people and you just feel it. I suggest you already are that too. You obviously already know that. The silence you drop into and that knowingness is completely tangible. And like you were talking about before, I know that feeling is more real than the five senses are in this moment. I mean, the five senses are real, but they're one perspective of an infinite that are constantly changing. The deeper, more sturdy, more sure perspective is the vibration of feeling that you're offering. And that's a gift. And I see you're a living example of that. You could just walk around locked into your state of being, and it's the offering. Everyone's always offering something to the world. You can offer anger, or you can offer what you're offering, and people around you who are aware will, or even not, will just start to feel it and recognize it and match it. Beautiful.
Yeah, I can tell that you feel it. I know that you're self-realized, that you realize your true nature. Like I know that you know that you feel whole and and complete, and you feel I just feel your energy. Like I have a, I just know it. Like there's this knowingness that you know what you are, you truly are, that you don't need anything. You don't need to. I just picture you in that hot seat, sitting there with Abraham and just looking, just the silence that we had, having the silence with Abraham. And then Esther or Abraham just up there looking at you.
I love that. As Abraham would go along with that. I see it. And I convey this same idea in a lot of relationships I have on a human level with other people. Sometimes I just look and laugh and smile in appreciation, just feeling the vibe and realize I could have used 1,000 words and not conveyed this. Like people say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, a vibrational knowing and focus is worth 1,000 pictures. Like you can't convey these feelings through. It's fun to use words to just kind of throw them out to keep pointing at what you're experiencing. It's fun, but the truth is coming through so clearly beyond the senses. It's the feeling and it's the gift, the upliftment.
Yeah, there's more going on here besides words. There's an energetic exchange that's going on, that's happening.
Yeah. Can I ask the same question back at you? I'm sure you'll be back in the hot seat. Do you have a question racked up for Abraham? Or would it simply be your silent?
This is what would happen. I would go up on the stage. I go, I run up like this, like this, right? And then I go and I'd sit down, and then I would just look into the eyes, right into Esther's eyes, and just look and just feel that energy exchange. And then whatever would happen in that moment, whatever would arise, whatever effortless being wanted to come at that moment, I would just get myself out of the way and just allow it all to flow, whatever it is. So there would be no plan. There would just be walking up, not knowing, and just trusting that whatever is meant to be is meant to be, and whatever it is, it's going to be perfect. Whether I go up there and just start rapping to her, hey, my name is Robbie B. You don't mess with me, take you over my big fat. I don't know, like whatever I would do. Crazy. Or I could do a rap song for Abraham. My name is Abraham B. You don't mess with D. I'll take you over my universal knee. I'll vibrate you. I don't know. I'd come up with something on the spot, just like I'm flowing. It just flows through. So I don't. That would be like the fun of it too. Is just like just walking up, like I don't know, just like in the flow, and I would just lock eyes, and I would just feel. I would just try to feel the energy and just see what's going to arise.
That's awesome. You take in the perspective, whatever is going to be perfect with the emotion of joy. There's really nothing else you need in the
What
human
else is there?
perspective.
I mean, seriously, like I could just sit here, like we could talk for hours, but really, when it comes down to it, like when you just like, I don't know, when you reside in the silence of the beingness, like when you feel your beingness and you put your attention on your beingness and the silence and the stillness, everything is just like a quiet, it's like a quiet background, a quiet piece that's whole and complete, that needs nothing, that's okay with everything, that loves everything, and that's joyful and fulfilled and wants to just give love to all around it.
Words don't teach, as Abraham says, experience teaches. And the experience is a cool word because it has many definitions, but this is a vibrational experience. The relationship, the conversation here, this experience is teaching the vibration. For me, it's further in training a vibration that I'm excited to move towards.
You are it already, John.
And same to you, Rob.
You are it already. This is beautiful.
100% perfection. You could offer sessions where you just sit in silence.
Yes. Yeah. I just do the energy exchange.
The coaching
I'm
session is
just a
one of
mirror.
silence.
I'm just a mirror to you because this is what you are. And I'm just reflecting it back to you. You're bringing this out of me. This is nothing that I'm doing. This is all you.
Reminds me of a puppy, Rob, and that's the highest compliment for me. I am a huge aficionado and lover of dogs. They're just always happy in the moment, and like you're saying, a blank mirror. They're just
Yeah,
they're
like
open.
just wagging its tail.
Uh-huh.
I'm just sitting here wagging my tail, like Abraham would say, lick your face.
100%. Well, I appreciated this so much, Rob. Thank you for the invitation to join you.
Thank you. You are self-realized, you are whole, you are complete. You have everything. Everything's perfect in the silence, in the infinite space that we're all in. Everything is whole. You're already in paradise on earth right here, right now. It's all just going to flow and unfold. Enjoy the ride, follow the bliss, know what you are. You are infinite love, infinite joy, infinite peace with infinite possibilities. You're the pristine, infinite being. Now, any of the thoughts that may come, and think of them as invitations to different parties, let them come, let them go. That's not what you are. Only accept the invitations to the one that say that you are joy, that you are peace, that you are fun, that you are bliss. Follow those, take those invitations. Anything else does not apply to you. It's just like a cloud in the sky floating by.
Perfectly said.
All right, we'll end there.
Perfect.
All right.
Take
Take care,
care.
buddy.